That's Craig. Still don't have my mic fixed, so you guys are going to hear a lot of unnecessary audio, but let's just dive right back in. All right. I took a little nap, so I have completely forgotten a lot of the questions we asked you. So go ahead and remind me if I'm missing anything. Let's start with the first question I asked you, which is, how did you feel about the Emperor as a leader? Hopefully you've had time to think about your responses to questions and such.
Of course. Okay. As I said earlier in the interview, is that
These are going to be generally the same questions. We're just trying to get them recorded now.
Sure. During Emperor's reign, Pantheon was on its best time, including the score, the members. I'm not sure about the compliance, but it was great considering that Pantheon actually won wars, even though I admit it wasn't that great. According to my opinion, it wasn't that great jumping smaller alliances, which actually turned out not to be that great, jumping them. So I think it was better than during Ethos reign time and Raw, which they Ethos went totally inactive and out of the game, and Raw was not really. It didn't really have the time to work on the alliance that much, or did not have the motivation to do so. So perhaps, Pantheon was on its best time during Emperor's reign. That's what I can say.
All right. Now, what does your current Gov mock-up look like? Who do you have in Gov? How well do you think they're going to do in their position?
I have Luke as my second in command, also known as a champion of the gods. That's what it's called. Luke is also the Olympian of economics and therefore the head of the economics department. I have Gumi as the head and Olympian of internal affairs, who's doing a very well job with the activity and the Discord maintaining, basically doing internal affairs in his best and actually recruiting more stuff. And I have Jinter as the head of who I just promoted a day or two ago as the head and Olympian of military affairs, who's really great and has been a DT for a long time of war or military affairs. He wasn't very active recently, but now he's back, as we did go through whether he could dedicate more time into politics and war and the current position. And about the deities, we have Apocalypse, also known as Broke, as the deity of economics, and we have Motki, who just merged from Reichspacht Alliance. And we have the deity of internal affairs, who's Kyo. He's doing a great job together with Gumi. Kyo is who Gumi recruited into this department. Eventually, was promoted through ranks as to what he is now a deity of internal affairs. And finally, we have the wizard, who's our most senior and advisor to the government, high and both low government and the Titan. And that's all about the staff currently. We're still looking
a quick congratulations to both of them. Well, not both of them, all of them. Oops. If this plays in Pantheon or if they get wind of the recording, congratulations, all of you. Happy that Gumi finally got promoted, my baby boy. Now, how do you feel about your current lacking in the FA department?
It definitely feels like a loophole because it is it is a loophole. But at the moment, I and Luke are both working in maintaining the foreign affairs as long as we need to recruit and train, perhaps even train staff and members who can learn or actually do for the foreign affairs in a good way. It feels yes, it feels like a loophole, but we're working on it. But we just don't really want to rush and give anyone the position, that position, because we see the foreign affairs department as a really important department.
So, do you feel like you're going to suffer at all because you don't have a high gov or low gov of foreign affairs, just plain diplomats? Or do you think you and Luke can cover it completely on your own?
As you can see, and I and everybody else can see, we're working strongly, very strongly on the foreign affairs since we don't have the staff for it. We're completely dedicating ourselves to foreign affairs as we need more allies. That's our first priority. Members and allies are our first priority. However, I don't think it is causing a negative effect in the alliance because we're not forgetting that that department, and we're constantly working on it. Even the allies can say that.
So, what are your plans for Pantheon Foreign Affairs? Do you plan on signing any major treaties anytime soon, or are you just going to stick with the status quo of FarkSphere?
I think we're gonna get maybe one more MDOAP treaty, and perhaps a few protectorates at the moment. But I don't think we're going to do something bigger than we already are doing at the moment because of the global war, obviously.
All right. So, what is your opinion on FarkSphere and FARC themselves being allied to them?
I think they're doing good. I think they shouldn't rush that much, especially in wars. But they're doing very good with the treaties and allies, which I hope the allies and the protectorates will be trustworthy to them and will not abandon them. However, I expect them and I hope that they won't make any mistakes because they're heading to a good position. They're growing very much.
Now, do you have any concerns about the threats the game is currently having for FARC? FARC is a very threatened alliance. Not right now, but as soon as the global ends, I'm sure they're going to be in a much more dangerous position. Are you concerned about that at all, or do you think you're ready for it?
We've been in a war. We've been in a war with Nova, which was a devastating war to us because we were outnumbered by a few alliances. If it wasn't full members of the alliance, they did help. They very much did help in taking down our higher towers, which we had as an advantage. But about the FARC, I think we're gonna remain loyal as long as they don't do any mistakes or try to jump people without having any justice over it. But we're not
All right, so
really.
you expect to be a loyal ally to FarkSphere
Not
as
the
long as they don't make
FARC
any mistakes. What would you consider a mistake?
I never said we will be loyal to the FarkSphere. I said we will be loyal and remain trustworthy to our treaty with Farkistan, that is, and our allies As I said, we don't really consider ourselves, and we have not been offered to be in a Turkestan sphere or coalition or bloc. Mm,
Now, what would you consider a mistake? You said you would not be loyal if they made any mistakes. What's a mistake to you?
I think a mistake would be jumping smaller alliances or fighting for its own for their own, perhaps a player's individual hate or trying to get power or fame. That's what for both Pantheon and the Turkestan.
So, raiding a micro or fighting for self-interest are the two main mistakes you're concerned FARC would make, and you would drop them if they did such.
Yes, correct.
All right, so Vasily asks, so FARC making a mistake would be doing what made Pantheon what you believe to be its highest point. So FARC's mistakes are the same things that Fist did when he was in charge of Pantheon, is pretty much what Vasily's getting at. And it is true. FARC's mistakes are how Fist ran the alliance. What you just said, what FARC's mistakes would be, not FARC's actual mistakes. I don't think they've done either of that.
Yes, that's correct. I wouldn't support that. I wouldn't support such a decision, not even a Fist decision, which he had made at that time, because it's what really hurt Pantheon, both the alliance and its reputation later on. Not immediately, but it did hurt Pantheon later on. Yes, that mistake would be what I'm describing as a mistake that I would not support.
All right, so you heard it here first. Pantheon will not be rolling any more micros. So already a massive improvement on Pantheon's end. Moving on, how did you gain power in Pantheon? How were you elected? Let's get an insight on the elected process. Did you make any campaign promises? Or was it pretty much just we found out that there was an election and you won?
But really, we had elections. We first, both I and Luke, which was the only remaining Olympians, and the Olympic court. Hold on. All right. What was the question?
The question is, how were you elected in Pantheon?
Okay. We first approached I and Luke, both, as I said, as the only remaining Olympians and the Olympic court, which is basically the Titans family and the most closest to the Titan, who should request opinions and close approach with them. We did what we.
Each member of the Olympic court also acts as a department head for context.
Correct. We approached each and every government member, including our senior advisor and the wizard, who's an advisor to both Titan and the Olympic court, and basically the alliance, Pantheon. So we approached every government member, and we asked them that we're going to follow the charter and remove Raw to the for the inactivity clause, which was basically what was going on. We were being held up in the air without having a progression or something, and we asked them whether they would support that, and they all did, with no exception at all. Not even RID, not even any government member were denying that solution. Everyone was supportive of it. And then we had votes. First, it was nominations. Any government was able to nominate someone in the government or even outside of it. We had two voluntary stand-ups to being Titan. Luke, I, and Gumi was nominated by a government member. And then after we had no more nominations, which was sent to Red, Red started the votes over the nominees, who were three. I repeat, me, Luke, and Gumi. Then we had anonymous votes. Every government member and even us were allowed to cast a vote on the nominees. No one was allowed to vote for himself or herself. We all voted in direct messaging or most senior advisor, who is Red Kelly, and he tallied up the votes and he selected the winner, which was basically from the votes, and that was me. Everyone had a few votes, but I had the most votes in being the next Titan of Pantheon.
All right, so you said Luke abstained from the vote in the last show. Is this true, or do you just believe he abstained? So basically, is this your theory, or are you certain that Luke abstained?
Luke abstained, actually. He said that in a general chat. I think he publicly mentioned it, that he's abstaining from the votes.
All right, so that brings up a concern. Do you believe that with Luke's abstaining from the vote that you do not have his support as Titan, or do you think he just chose to abstain for other reasons? So do you believe you have complete support of your Olympic court, or are you concerned that Luke did not want you to be Titan, but he also didn't want to be Titan himself, choosing to abstain?
I think that's why what my opinion is. I think he also wanted to be Titan and lead the alliance, since it was dying anyway. At first, Luke really didn't want to have that such a responsibility, but eventually he had to stand up for the world, and he did. But he abstained from the votes. I don't know what the reason behind that was, but that was it.
All right. There's a lot to unpack there, but not going to.
I really don't know the reason behind that.
All right. No, it's fine. It's fine. Did you like Rar as a leader, or did you prefer Fist?
I'd rather say Raw, but they both had the kind of similar thoughts towards leading an alliance. They both were stubborn, not really
I'd say
open.
Rar was very different from Fist as a leader, like incredibly different.
Yes, but when it comes to being stubborn and not really open to the Olympic court, that's where they were similar. However, Raw was very different in leading the alliance. She had different ideas, but unfortunately, she wasn't here to do it all. And I think she kind of lost motivation, which was the reasoning behind her inactivity. Yes, she was offered perhaps she was offered for peace, but I and all other government did refuse peace because
Not all over government. The Reps was a big inside joke with Nova, and we would have improved PR if she accepted it, because it would have given Pantheon a sense of humor. Her and the government refusing it was a massive blunder. That's why I went ahead and paid it, since the inside joke involved me.
I wasn't aware of that at that time. I was Olympian of military, I believe. I wasn't really doing any foreign affairs, neither jokes. I was really focused on actually fighting the war. and organizing and coordinating the members and fighting back, which was really hard at that time, but we kind of managed.
Fair, fair. But yeah,
However,
no, the Nova situation, RAR kind of made the issue worse. Like, in the end, it worked out for her purely based on luck that while we kept on fighting the war, Nova A declared their own victory, which was a foreign affairs blunder on their part, and B got caught for cheating, which means they dissolved. So, if all things considered, RAR should have just accepted the peace offer before Nova made their two blunders, even though
not really,
technically the
not
second blunder was happening during the situation, but we didn't
not
know about
really.
it yet.
We should have never surrender, and we will never surrender to anyone who wants to vanish us or disband us. And that victory post, it was a joke. It was a joke to me as an Olympian of military. It was a joke to Raw, and it was a joke to all Pantheon, since there cannot be a one-sided victory. You know,
And the victory post was a joke, definitely. I love the
yes,
Sully,
it
but
was a
that was stupid. Anyways, but Pantheon, your refusal to surrender. I'd like to talk about that so much. So you foresee that even if Pantheon's in an unwinnable position, you'll never surrender. Is that what you're getting at?
we will never surrender if we will get declared a war upon by too many alliances who want to see such an old alliance, such a pantheon disbanding or vanishing without any justice at all. It was a different leader at that time. It was Fist who did that, who actually dragged Nova in a war and declared upon Nova statement, I believe. However, that's changing. That's changing a lot. We will never ever declare upon smaller alliances. Not because of we will get smashed later, but really because I'm not either I or Luke are such people, and we don't have such motive. Because the war against a smaller alliance is going to be unfair to them. And really not a victory
In
to
most
us
cases, yeah, it
anyway.
would be unfair to the smaller alliance. Okay, moving on. So to summarize that last bit, Pantheon will never surrender if defending in a war, and they believe the war to be to remove them. Next question would be, what does your econ look like? How are you guys planning growth plans? What's your current tax rate and such? And do you believe that Pantheon will ever move to a higher tax rate?
We currently have moved to higher tax rates. We have 30% tax rates for all members, and we're currently paying grants, full grants up to City 14, because we're trying to push growth forward to middle tier and higher tier. We're based on economics, but we're also now upgrading to being more militarized or being more good at it than we used to be earlier in the history.
So, do you ever expect to go to a 100-100 tax rate is kind of what I was asking.
Not really. Not at all.
Mm-hmm. And you'll continue investing, I believe you said in the previous show, up to City 14, 100% paid, despite having an exceptionally low tax rate.
we're not losing any cash. In contrary, we're not gaining very much cash, but we're not losing, but we're also earning a little, which is eventually helping in time with the rebuild cash, which we already have. As I said in the interview, we have the necessary rebuild cash and resources, and to go on in a war if we were forced to be in a war.
So you're not earning a lot. So what I get is that your bank's not growing. You guys are investing a ton in your members and you're not losing money, which is good. But that also means your bank's not growing, which means as your alliance gets bigger, your guys' war chests will get smaller. Do you think you're roll ready?
It is
Ready
growing,
to
but
get
it's not
blitz ready,
growing
not
at
roll
a
ready.
higher rate. It's
So
not
do you
growing
think
at a
you're ready to
fast
be
rate.
blitzed? Could you handle a blitz is what I'm getting at.
Yes, if we weren't outnumbered.
You're usually outnumbered if you're getting blitzed.
I don't understand the question. Do you mean if we could financially handle a blitz?
Yeah, could you financially support yourself and rebuild if, let's say,
Of course.
turn day change today?
Yeah.
Give me 2 random alliances, Vasily. Wait, it's going to take me a while to type that out. Never mind.
We
If
can.
turn change today, I'm going to flip a
Can-
coin. BK
yeah.
and
I got
what's
the
another good
question.
random alliance?
Yes, I got the question.
Camelot.
Yes, that,
BK and Camelot rated you turn change today. Camelot and Africa Corps, that's even better. So if
yes,
Camelot and Africa Corps rated you today, would you be able to financially support yourself through the war?
yes,
Or
we are 100%. We are 100% able to rebuild
would you
ourselves.
win the war?
And what was? Would we win the war?
Yeah.
It really depends. I can't say anything because I actually like to see things happening before or instead of talking about them, whether we will win them or not.
That's good. That's good. I can respect that. What are you guys' what's your guys' infrastructure look like? Do you run on a low infra build or do you run on an inflated infra build?
Currently, running on a low infra build because
It's good. Pantheon's definitely improving then. If you guys are keeping low infra, that means you guys aren't going to be screwed on the stats. I think you guys are pretty well set up coming from that. My only main concern is your lack of FA and your econ policy. I don't trust the mass investment, low tax rate econ policy you guys are running. So is there anything you can say to allay my concerns for both foreign affairs and your econ?
our econ is very good, very stable. And we will make a change in the taxes in the future, I hope. But that we're still discussing that with Luke, who's the head of econ department. As the foreign affairs, I'm constantly myself and Luke are working on that as well. But we have two. We have DTs of econ, and we have two DTs of econ, assistant DTs, who's not considered government members anymore. But econ is very stable. If we weren't investing this much money on our members, we would definitely be saving billions, in a very short time. But we are also giving out a lot of grants, and we encourage requesting the grants constantly because there is no best way to invest that cash we earn from our members than investing it in our own members.
Now,
Of
a
course.
point George brought up, that I just want to keep on hitting at this econ stuff. A point George brought up when I told him that you guys are down to only core members, which means you guys are down to the loyal members, people who are loyal to the alliance no matter what. George brought up that you could raise taxes to 100 with only core members and you wouldn't lose anyone. So what legitimately is the reason behind not raising taxes and maxing them out?
Because
You guys can do it. You wouldn't lose members. That's not a risk. You're not going to lose members if you don't do it because you
that's
have
true.
core
That's
members.
true. That's true. But we actually want our members to have freedom within our alliance. We don't want them to tell to manage their growth or tell them everything to do for their nations. We actually want them
So it
to.
comes down to morality. You morally disagree with command economy, and you want to give your members the freedom to build their nations how they see fit.
We actually have audits, growth guides, and
Of course,
this is
I'm the one
basically
who edited those growth guides. I know your guys' growth guides.
okay. I'm saying that for everyone else. Then they have that to use that in their favor, and they
Now,
have that.
do
They
you
actually
demand they go by growth guides? Like, will they get in trouble if they're not going by the infra levels and whatnot suggested
I
by the growth guides?
not really,
Or
not.
are they allowed to have 2K infra at one city? You guys just recommend against it.
Of course, we recommend against it, but we don't punish for it. Also,
You
we
don't take.
have. I think we have a
Now,
few
before I
members.
left Pantheon, Luke did run a policy of if you go too high with infra, he'll tell you to get rid of it. And that's a policy I agree with. I'm not digging at Luke by saying this. How so? Have you stopped him from doing that, or
Nope, nope, not at all, not at all. But you know, when you give members freedom, you know,
what I just said is that Luke didn't give the members freedom. Luke would tell them to get rid of their infra if they had too much infra. Definition
talking
of too
about.
high infra. The day before I left, Luke made a public announcement telling somebody at 10 cities with 2,000 infra to message him immediately. So
Of
think
course,
2,000 cities.
maybe they would be
2,000.
forced to remove the high infra, but not get kicked out for it.
So they'd be forced to remove and not get kicked out aren't the same thing. Forced to remove sounds like you're still running a command economy.
Yes, but not a total command economy.
Not totally command. All right, that's all I needed to hear. Not totally command, but command enough that you guys don't have infra that would hurt your
Of
war
course, we're
stat.
going to recommend not to get 3,000 infra at 8 cities because that would give us a hell lot of damage and give us a hell lot of cash to invest into them, into rebuilding, which we wouldn't do that. We're never going to do that. Rebuild 3,000 infra for 8 cities because that's not what our rules of he can say.
Do you offer grants for infra or do you only offer grants for cities?
No, we only offer city grants and projects.
Project. So this is more of a personal question. How's my university doing ever since I gave the guides to Gumi? Are you guys giving it the treatment it deserves? Because that thing's my baby.
The academy you created,
Yeah.
was it the Prometheus?
Well, Jan Orwell created Prometheus. I created the university. Basically,
Well,
what are you guys doing with my guides?
the guides are being used. Yes, the guides are being used by both internal affairs and econ. But at the moment, we're now more focused on the Mortal program, which is what we use more.
All right, I'm cool with that. Mortal Program was a policy that Batavia, Tartarus, and I worked out together.
That's
So,
great.
are you guys planning to, or do you already fund the two city engineering projects? So the City 11 engineering project and the City 16 engineering project.
Really funding any of them, not even partly or fully, at the cost of food right now.
So you are not funding it. All right. Yeah, food is definitely very high. What tax rate are you running Ridcoli on?
throne is on 30% tax rate.
All right. As long as you're not giving him as a whale a special tax rate, I'm cool with it.
Nope, it was never given a special whale tax. It was only, I think, during Emperor's reign. Whales used to be on 5% of taxes during the rebuild time, which was necessary because they would really need a lot of cash to rebuild their nations. So the 5% taxes and the less taxes, as you put it, they were given during rebuild time, so they could rebuild themselves.
Back to FA, do you plan on, after the end of the global, signing treaties or at least discussing treaties with either sides of the current war or any alliances on either side?
Yeah, I think we would eventually approach. We're actually waiting for the global war to end. I personally like war, but it seems that the wars are actually destroying politics and war. Too many people are leaving the game, either going inactive, and that's what I'm not really liking about all these wars.
You don't like how it's killing activity?
Not at all. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't go so far. You know, even if it was bigger reasons than why wars are happening right now. According to me, I think the reasons aren't being good enough to go on in such a war and lose such amount of members over these wars. And they're constantly being wars in the Orbis, which is constantly making politics and war losing players.
So the loss of activity is definitely a major concern, and you source it at the global itself, which definitely looking at the amount of people who've quit the game during the global, I can see where you're coming from, and I agree. Yeah, definitely. Do you think Pantheon is screwed? Or do you
Nope.
think you guys are on a recovery?
I think we're actually reviving ourselves since Pantheon, according to me, it was dying on Aura's hands because she wasn't either letting go or working on it. Yeah, Limbo, we're definitely making Pantheon great again or working on it.
Well, if Pantheon was great again, you'd have Limbu as a member. Anyways, you were saying?
Again?
Did I disconnect?
What was the question? Was there a
I
question?
was saying, do you think Pantheon's going to recover? You were on the beginning of making your statement on that, but then you responded to
Yeah.
Limbu.
Yeah, I was.
So-
I replied to Limbo. Yes, definitely. Yes, definitely. Pantheon is making a great recovery on all and any departments. We're only lacking the foreign affairs.
Now, on my
DT.
first radio show, I said pretty much the exact same thing Limbu's saying right now, that we were on a recovery and we're going to improve. And then all this happened. Do you see situations like this happening in the future, or do you think this really is the final recovery and you guys are going to recover and never fall down again?
There's no such thing as never falling down again in this war, in this game. You know, it's a never-ending cycle. You know, alliances will always, you know, with no exception, fall. You understand?
So, what I more meant is that, are you ever going to fall this low? Well, not this low, since you guys have improved since the days you were elected. But on the day you became Titan, Pantheon and this isn't a dig at you, I'm just looking at the raw facts. Pantheon was at its lowest. You guys had 2 members of the Olympic court, a bunch of
I don't think.
semi-professional gov members.
I don't
You were
think.
in a
I
bad
don't.
spot. Do you think that you're never going to fall that low again?
I don't think we're never going to fall that low again with the staff. With the staff is what I'm saying, and with the Olympic court, we now have 3 Olympians since.
So you've already improved from it. The reason why I'm asking is a lot of people believe that with how low you guys were a week ago, any other alliance would die. So who's to say the next time you fall that low, you won't die? So what I'm asking is, are you ever going to be on the brink of death as an alliance again, or do you think you finally hit your stride and the alliance is here to stay?
I think this is just the beginning of a greater pantheon. That
Greater
we will
Pantheon, the era of Nomi, merge into Morrowind.
And I don't think we will never have less staff than we did before I got elected as a Titan. However,
We have not.
Morrowind has already merged into Pantheon.
No, we haven't. What?
Not Morrowind. I thought he was saying Reichspacht. My bad.
Oh, Reichspark merged into you. I was wondering why Motkey was fully a member now. Good for him.
Yeah, Limbo One got me confused. Great job. I thought he was really talking about Reichspacht.
Yeah. So, what's your opinion on all your current treaties right now? Do you plan on dropping anyone? Do you think anybody's at risk outside of FARC? So we've already talked about FARC a lot this show. Now I want to talk about the other treaties you have.
I don't think we're going to drop anyone. The Federation is doing greatly. Also, mentioning the originals, which we talked earlier, we have already upgraded from a protectorate to MDO-AP treaty, which is because they've done so well. And I don't think we're going to upgrade any of the other protectorates, but I think we're going to get more protectorates and maybe MDO-APs when the global war is over, which is basically disallowing us to have more allies at this time because we would get dragged in the global war, and which is not what we're aiming for because we have no absolute reason to join this war. Answer is that I don't think we're going to drop anyone unless they would make the mistakes which I mentioned earlier.
So, you like all your treaties is what I got from that. Sorry about the long silence. I was typing something out. You like your large treaties.
We don't
What
have
are your
many.
opinions on the politics of Orbis as a whole? So
I don't.
outside of your little isolated sphere, who are you supporting in Global War 14 personally? Don't say this representing the Alliance, but who are you rooting for to win Global War 14?
I'm not really rooting for anyone to win because we all know the answer ourselves. That's not a really prediction or something we will bet on because we know of the result. Even if both sides will do good at sometimes we know the result anyway. But even I personally, I'm not rooting for anyone in this war. However, I am hoping for some alliance, which I'm not gonna mention, to escape this war, and because they basically got dragged in it without a reason. same like in always politics and war history. Alliances, a few of them get dragged in because they only have a treaty with someone, and some get only dragged in for fun or loot. So I'm not really rooting for anyone in this war.
All right, well, that's all the questions I can think of off the top of my head. Does anybody, Limbu, Vaseli, do you have any questions for him? Well, any more questions? All right, so Vaseli would like more details. I know you've talked on this topic a bit today. Why did you guys attack Nova first?
Are you mentioning the Nightfall or the
I
SOG
think he's
war?
mentioning the Nightfall. The reason we raided Nova first in the SOC war is because we knew Nova was going to hit us, so we wanted to try and blitz and get some stats.
Yes, the
before the actual
SOG war
war
is
started.
for the reason you said. We knew that Nova was going to blitz us, so I ordered the blitz a few minutes earlier. So why Fist order? I don't really have an idea. I think it was for a personal reason. I think
All of us were too low ranked at the time of Nightfall to know why we hit Nova during Nightfall.
Actually,
The
I am
reason we
aware.
kept on hitting them, Fisk said, was because they called both me and TK's a cunt. But, I'm a cunt. But TK's so don't call TK's a cunt.
Actually,
That's the reason why
was,
we
I
kept on hitting them when we were requested to peace. However, I don't know why we hit them in the first place.
think Fist ordered a war on them because he didn't really like Pooh Ball and probably hated Pooh Ball at some point.
I mean, that would explain it, but the reason Fist gave us was he said it was ordered by the coalition. Not sure, so whatever. Opinion of that is the opinion of that.
Well, we had the chance to drag. Fist finally had the chance to win a war against Nova, which was all its allies were busy in a war already, which was the Knights Radiant at that time. We had the chance to attack Nova and win against it, so I think Fist used that chance against Pooh Ball and a few other allies of Nova, which he probably hated or had a personal matter with them. I'm not really sure. I wasn't even high government at that time. I think I was a DT. About Limbo's question, Aurora already came back. She has the Titan Emeritus role, which has a role in advising high government.
So Rob will be an advisor if she ever comes back.
Yes, she did type. She did show up, but I don't think she has the time. But we will gladly use her as an advisor and have her. And probably if she at some point has the time to serve in any departments, she's
Tell
more
her to
than
go to
willing
Morrowind.
do
I
it.
miss hanging out with Rar.
Other questions?
Let's see. Did somebody just ask one? Will you ever implement fast tracking city growth for some prominent members such as yourself?
Yes.
All right. So you guys are keeping the Go to City 14 program that Rar had running in the Econ channel, or have you stopped that?
Nope. We're still having that for all members, but we're also working in implementing a fast tracking city growth for, as Limbo says, for loyal members and most likely members to not leave the game or go inactive at some point.
He wants to know how high the city.
Mm, I think currently at our current tier, we're working to get everyone uh, everyone to city 23 at least, from 16 firstly from to 16, as we consider it a middle tier in Pantheon's tiers, to 23, which we consider a higher tier.
So how long do you think that'll take realistically to go to City 23 with all your members without going broke? This is a feat that if NPO tried, they could probably do it with severe difficulty. Getting everyone to City 23, or at least
Well,
even everyone that's your prominent members to City 23
well,
is going to be
I'm not
very
saying
expensive.
I'm not saying we're not gonna change anything in the econ department, because we probably are going to change maybe taxes, maybe other stuff that is in econ department, but we will definitely work on doing that.
You get it. How long do you think it's going to go? Like, how long do you think this is going to take?
I think it will take a couple months to be realistic.
So to City 23 in a couple months. All right, I'll take note of that. Limbo would like to get details on how it's going to be implemented.
We're still working on that. We're still discussing the options with the head of the department, who's Luke, and the deities of that department. So we're still figuring out. To Wisely question, it was the emphasize which we got hampered, as you put it. It was mostly because of the whales. The damage was mostly because of the whales. And about the infra levels, the econ head, who is Olympian, and the econ deities will actively monitor to prevent such a similar situation.
So to make sure a similar situation in the Nova War, which is high infra, especially in the whale tier, dragging us down, Luke monitors infra levels of basically everyone in the Alliance and will yell at you if you get too crazy. You have some leniency, so it's not completely command economy, but if you do something atrocious, yeah, Luke will yell at you.
Yes, Luke will definitely yell at you and probably make you even remove that infra at some point, because we really don't want to be damaged of billions. Yes, everything that, even all what you mentioned, 2.5, 3, 3.5 is all high for such city counts of what we have in Pantheon right now.
No, Luke will still lead Econ, but Nomady has already promoted Jinter to lead Milcom.
I did promote Jinter to the head of military affairs, and I am training him to actually be better at it. And yes, Luke, as the champion of the gods, he still has the right to remain an Olympian, and he will still lead the econ department as the head of it.
How long do you see your... Oh, wait, no, let's ask Limbu's question first. Do those guys who got funded pay back in tax or not? So do you have a higher tax rate to the people who you're speeding to City 23? Because when you guys did the Speed to City 24, not 24, the Speed to City 14 program, we were all on 90-10 taxes.
As I said, we're still pushing everyone to City 14 fully, paying grants fully. They remain at the same tax rate. We're
I'm talking
still
about the people
working.
you're pushing to City 23. What tax
Yes,
rate are they on?
we're not. As I said, we're still working on that.
You're
On
still working it out.
We're still working on that. Yes, they. I think they will definitely have a little bit more taxes, but not 100% taxes. But they will have a bit more taxes than what they usually have. But since they will be having more funds, they will be having a little more taxes as well. But it has to be an agreement in both sides.
What's Pantheon's main goal, Lori the Dutchman asks.
As I said earlier, it's a few details. It's just not a one goal. We want to get more allies, trustworthy allies that won't abandon us, or we won't abandon them. We're working on all departments to make it clear which department is what is their work, what do they have to do. We're working on getting more staff on all departments. We will definitely stay out of this global war. We have already started encouraging activity and pushing growth. That is for now. It's been only a few days
Do you
since
see yourself getting back to the top 5 post-war stats and maintaining that? Or do you think Pantheon's now going to live in the tier of lower top 10 or below top 10, but not quite below top 20?
I think it will take a while. Yes, it might even take a few months. I'm not never denying that because we have lost too many whales. Higher city count people who was mainly or higher scores and net income. So it might take a few months to get back to that, but I think eventually with work and constant activity, we might even get back at that top in a few months.
So you've built a reputation, or should I say I built you a reputation of being somewhat crazy. Do you like that? Do you think that makes you better as a leader on the FA front, that people think you're going to yell at them or whatnot?
It depends on what people's definition of crazy is, or what you built as a definition for that craziness.
So it depends. All right. So I'd like to respond to some of you had a bit of a bout with George of BK. Would you like to restate what you said then, here now that we're recording it, so that way it gets out more? Because that seemed to be a pretty good attempt at PR.
I don't know what really. I was just mainly stating what Pantheon will aim in the future, that we will not fear wars if they're forced upon us for no reasons or personal reasons or personal people's wishes to fame or power or even reputation by taking us down. But definitely, we don't fear the global war. That is not the reason why we wouldn't join this global war. It just doesn't make sense for Pantheon to join such a war because we have absolutely no reason to. That's what you're asking about.
Yeah.
You can expect the 16 to City 23 project to start in maximum 3 to 1 month, 3 weeks to 1 month.
So 3 weeks to 1 month, you're going to start your massive growth program. That's a decent time frame, I
Uh,
see.
Lowry, will Pantheon take any sides? Not really. Pantheon isn't taking any sides. Pantheon wants to will respect its own allies, but will not join wars for nonsense reasons or personal fame or hate or power, as I mentioned before. So we will respect our allies and actually respect the treaties we have, unless it's a mistake by them that they made.
Hmm. All right, I can't think of any more questions off the top of my head. Any more from anybody else? Or let's see, did
I
somebody just ask for?
Do we have ideas? Yes, I think that's my opinion. I think Raw was trying to align Pantheon into a fourth sphere, since they're calling it the fourth sphere. Consider our closest ally to be the Federation at the moment, and Morrowind. I really have no idea what Ra was trying to do. I just said this from my own opinion because Ra wasn't shedding light in anything at all. She wasn't open to the Olympic court, which you, as a Titan, you should be always be open to the high government. According to me, you should always be
Yeah.
open to
Mhm.
the Olympic court for whatever you're doing, and not just work things out for what you yourself want to do.
You consider Federation a very close ally, yeah?
Yeah.
Federation has been making more and more moves closer and closer with a proxy of Brotherhood of the Clouds' area in the Spearing, which would pull you towards being a proxy of BOC and BK. Would you continue with your relationship with the Federation if that were to come to pass?
I don't think I have an answer to that at the moment.
All right, that's fine. That's perfectly fine.
Lowry, what's my hopes for Pantheon's future? Will I try to convince people coming back? I'm not really going to. I did try to approach you multiple times because I really like you, as a Milcom guy. I really didn't poach anyone else in the whole game, perhaps. And I did not try to convince anyone else coming back. I myself seek warriors to have warriors in my alliance. I like them. I like them being good at everything, growing their nation, but also always at any time and forever being good at wars. And who's eager to war if that would come to them.
So, any closing statements? This is it. No more questions. We're going to go ahead and close out here, unless somebody asked something that I really wanted to hear the answer for, and I just didn't have the words for the question yet. So, any closing statements? A little final speech before I shut Craig up. Well, he's not talking, but I make Craig stop hearing us up.
Pantheon will not be a puppet to any other alliance. We will not have a commander. We will have allies, but we will aim to have equal rights and equal words and power in our treaties. We will not jump, as I said earlier, we will not jump other small alliances just so because we can take them out. Mm, We
So all of
definitely.
these things you just listed are things that made Pantheon succeed in the past. And now that you're moving away from them, you're saying Pantheon has entered a new era. And if you succeed now, you can expect to continue succeeding in the future, since you're no longer the old Pantheon.
That is what I'm trying to work on.
All right. Great words. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for the 3 audience members for joining me. This is the last radio show for a while. Not sure how long that while will be exactly, but I am going on a trip soon, starting tomorrow, actually. So that's why I had to speed this up, get this done on my Wednesday show format instead of doing it on my usual Friday show format. There won't be any after show since I don't believe Viselli has his mic or anything, so that means it would only be me and Lori talking since Limbu never talks. So no after show, nothing like that.
I'm going to answer Lori's last question, and we can finish this.
All right, go ahead. And as soon as you answer Lori's question, I'm shutting Craig up. I'm already going to have him in the chat box, too.
Of course,
So,
of course.
these are your last words. Make them great.
I think at the moment, Pantheon will be the same like before, recruiting new people because new people are always best for the game, for politics and war. But eventually, I think we will have requirements. But we already have the Mortal program, which requires them to do a couple objectives, or shall we say missions, in order to get full rights of being full members of the Alliance. Thank you for having me.
Ooh, that's not the right command. Oh, that's because I used period. Whatever. I can make this seem like I did it completely fluidly in editing.